Welcome back. Joining me live now, our political panel, Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister, Patrick Gorman, and former Liberal MP, Jason Falinski. So, Patrick, you're finally going to do it. Changes to the capital gains tax. Is this what the people of Australia want?
Tom, of course, all of the government's policies will be announced at budget time. I know that you are a patient person. That's just 22 sleeps to go. I'm a patient person. I'm a parent at the end of school holidays after 2 weeks of extreme patience. So when it comes to future government policy, that'll be in the budget. What we've said many times is that our policies haven't changed, but we do recognise the substantial intergenerational inequality in Australia's tax system. We opened up that conversation last year. We've been very relaxed about having that conversation, but it's not for me on your program to announce government policy. That happens at the budget, and your viewers know that, Jason knows that, you know that, and I think that's probably the best way to deal with those matters.
Jeez, it's almost getting told off at the end, mate. Well, you know, what are you doing asking that sort of question? Jason, do you think the Liberal Party actually needs to think about this? See the policy first. There's many different ways to do this. They could be part of other elements, rather than just go, oh, tax something more, get less of it, and hear that line. Do you think this could be something that has more support than it previously did in Australia?
Tom, why is it that the Canberra Press Gallery won't ever say, hang on, we have now had 3 decades of let's just fix this problem with an increase in the tax system. And 3 decades later, all the problems that we were meant to fix with increasing taxes are now worse than they've ever been. So here's what, Patrick gave us a lecture about patience and how impatient you are, Tom. Let me tell you what I'm impatient for. I'm impatient for some real solutions out of this government for the problems that have created the intergenerational inequality of which Patrick and his mates are so concerned about. Because the fact of the matter is it's not intergenerational, it's just been going on for generations. And no government, either federal, state or local government, has been able to do it. Now, just before this panel came on, you had a story about tobacco tax. These guys put up tobacco taxes because they were going to end smoking as we know it. Smoking's now worse than it's ever been. It's funding criminal gangs, and you've got some bullshit institute funded undoubtedly by the federal government who's now telling all the state governments that they have to go and enforce these stupid laws. I've got an answer. Why don't you reduce tobacco taxes back to what they were, because then you'll reduce the incident of smoking, you'll reduce the amount of crime being funded in this country, and you'll get some law and order back into it. Tax is not the answer.
Hello to the parents watching. I guess the kids are back at school, so Jason's keeping things a bit colourful. Jason, you mentioned increasing taxes. I mean, what we also had with the CGT was a change to the discount, an increase in it being instant rather than going back to inflation.
Tom, I'm not buying into this anymore. I'm not buying into the Canberra bubble stuff.
All right.
When you get to keep your money, it's not a tax concession. It's tax. Getting rid of what the left call a concession is a tax increase. An investment is not an investment if it's just spending. So, let's just be honest here. This is a tax increase on housing in this country. It will see rents go up. It'll see the availability of housing go down. And in 10 years' time, Patrick and I will still be here arguing about how we fix the intergenerational inequality
when you say it's not
housing crisis created.
When you say it's not intergenerational, Jason, when you're getting a situation where increasingly people will only get a house if they get help from their parents, that is a change. That's not... That becomes intergenerational. Are you going to recognise that or not? Because you've teed off on that word. That's happening out there for people.
Tom, I'm not going to have you. I'm not going to have you on our first panel after 6 months put words in my mouth. The fact of the matter here is. The fact of the matter here is that just because something's been going on for generations, just because it took us generations to create this problem, doesn't mean that it's intergenerational. It's generational in the sense that we haven't been dealing with the underlying problem.
Well, it is intergenerational now. So do you disagree with that or not?
No, I don't disagree that people who are younger than you, Tom, like, 25, 26, are facing a harder capacity of getting in to the property market. Very few people can become property barons like you have. Okay.
Tell you what, I won't take any personal leave again, Jason. I'm whacked for taking a few weeks. Younger, I think I'm getting sledged for being old.
No.
Pat's lecturing me.
That's like
battered from pillar to post over this. Patrick.
It's tough being a television host, Tom.
Oh, no.
Mostly.
Especially on Sky,
tough.
Patrick.
No one thinks of me. Nothing in the budget for me. All right, Patrick, we heard from Jim Chalmers there'll still be savings even in these sort of austere times. What does that mean? Will there be more new savings than new spending?
Oh, well, the Treasurer was very open about the savings that we've flagged for a long period of time with the states and territories around the National Disability Insurance Scheme to make sure it's sustainable for the future. And I think that gives your viewers a really good insight into how we look at those savings, which is there are lots of places in the budget where we can save money and protect good programs so they can run for many more decades. That's how we approach these things. Look at the long-term stewardship we have to have of the national economy while making, and there's the Prime Minister, the Treasurer, all of my colleagues have been really open about the fact that the sorts of decisions that governments have to make in the global circumstances in which we find ourselves mean they're difficult decisions, every single one of them.
Jason, the Coalition's big pre-budget contribution was to sort of railroad Labor into spending billions on cutting the fuel excise. Is that a tax cut? Is that the right thing to say, or is that record investment in motorists?
I was Patrick. I'd say that's a tax cut. That would be my true, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure it helps with intergenerational inequality either, but, you know.
I'll take the opportunity just to agree with Jason. It is a tax cut. It is a tax cut of 32 cents on every litre of fuel. It was the right decision.
Unrelenting.
I think, otherwise, we've seen fuel prices, the largest spike in fuel prices in human history. It has caused real pain for Australians.
Human history.
And we chose to do something
Patrick,
about it.
That's not true. So in 1972, when we had the oil embargo, oil prices, in fact, tripled. What we have seen now is like a 50% increase in oil prices.
The speed of the
this happened overnight. OPEC
fastest.
would increase those prices like literally overnight.
All right. I'm going to get back to Pat. We can talk about the potato famine and really go back to crazy inflation if we want. But
it's funny,
Pat,
I was just reading about
PRRT, is Labor, I listened to a podcast the other day, is Labor as serious about perhaps getting more revenue out of the PRRT, another redesign, or have you been scared off by the gas companies?
Oh, we were serious about it in our first term and we did something about it. And your viewers know that brought in billions of dollars of additional revenue for the Commonwealth, for the Australian people. I recognise that these resources are not owned by the energy companies, they're owned by the Australian people. And so, as the custodians of the Australian economy, as the Australian government, we have to be making sure that we've always got our policy settings just right for the circumstances we find ourselves. It's not something that our government's announced. We haven't announced a change, but I do acknowledge there's a Senate inquiry that's happening at the moment. I don't know exactly what they're up to, but they're doing a lot of hearings this week. So that's probably why there's a bit more noise about this. I think it's being generated by the attention seekers in the Greens and the Teals more than the government.
All right. We'll cross that out. Not going to happen. What do you think of this prospect, Jason? I know raising tax is a horrible thing to do, but
no. But can I ask my question? I never get to ask the question. Can I ask my question? Is it true? Is it true that beer companies pay more tax? No. I was listening to David Pocock the other day. Is it true that beer companies pay more tax than gas companies?
Who are you asking? I
don't care. I'd just like one of you to answer that question.
Pat, I'll Google it. You go first, Pat.
Oh, look. I think last time we talked about this, I pointed out to Jason that we'd cut the taxes on draft beer, and that was a good thing for Australian beer drinkers. I'm still proud of that policy decision the Albanese government made. Obviously, every profit-making business in Australia needs to do their share of paying tax, whatever sort of liquid they produce. That's a pretty basic observation of fact. I want to make sure that we've got our tax settings right for our national interest, whether it be when it comes to the work we've done, such as the resource tax cuts that we've put in to make sure there's mining incentives for critical minerals. That's an important thing, just as we've cut taxes for beer excise.
So is Richard Dennis
I'll go short on that. Look, I don't know. Look, it looks right in quantum, Jason. 2.7 billion versus 1.5. Maybe it's because we drink a lot of beer. Final question for you, Jason, we'll go the traditional format of me asking questions, if I may be so bold. Do we need to raise more money out of our gas? We could use it to reduce our reliance on income tax, and then it's not a tax grab.
Why don't you just cut spending? Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just get rid of the $30 billion?
Why don't you do both?
Why don't you get rid of the $30 billion that you funneled through the CFMEU into crime gangs and that your hand-picked administrator in Victoria tried to hide?
Okay,
How about you do that first before you start taxing people more?
But what about the question? Are we raising a reasonable amount on gas or not?
So we're the most overtaxed country in the world. So why don't we look at getting rid of the fraud, waste and abuse in the NDIS system before we start taxing people more? I mean, why is the answer always...
Jason,
would you like in Norway and actually have a future fund?
Let me give you a tip on that. If you want to talk about getting rid of fraud and waste in the National Disability Insurance Scheme, I think the president of the Press Club and the Minister for Health and the NDIS might be having a bit of a chat on Wednesday. It'll be good. Tune in. You can watch it on Sky News.
Is it a private chat or can we all watch it?
12:30 right on Sky News, not to be missed.
If you don't interrupt, Jason, you can definitely watch it.
All right.
I'll probably interrupt.
I'll tell you what, it feels like Jason's been locked in a basement for a week and he's seen those studio lights and he's just been unleashed. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'm a masochist. Jason, Pat, see you again next week, probably. New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon.